Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us today for our new knowledge session. If this is your first time or your 100th time, we're delighted to have you join us for our professional development series. My name is Sandy Ratliff. I am with Locus, formerly known as Virginia Community Capital, and we are one of the partners that presents these sessions bi-weekly to our small business and business community. Joining me in this program is the Washington County Chamber of Commerce, the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator, and the town of Abington. And we've been doing this since 2015 to support the Washington County Business Challenge to help those folks build their skills as they start and grow businesses in Washington County. And now it's become a statewide and even multi-state participants that join us for these free webinars, and we hope that you're finding benefit from it. Today's session is being recorded for education and training purposes, and it will be available on the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator's Facebook page later today, but it will also be available on our New Knowledge YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in New Knowledge, and you will find there not only today's, but over 200 workshops that we've done in the past since 2015 to help provide on-demand training to our business community. If you have a question for one of our presenters, if you will post those in the Q&A section, we will address those during and at the end of the session. I'm excited to talk about outdoor recreation and to have the SE group lead this series. This is the first time they've joined us, but we're so delighted to have them talk about how do you go about starting an adventure tourism business, not only in Southwest Virginia, but anywhere in the country. Joining us today is Ayden Eickhoff. She is the Associate Community and Recreation Planner with the SE Group. And then Idalina Walker. Many of you probably know Ida from her many years of working in outdoor recreation with Friends of Southwest Virginia before joining the SE Group, who knows a lot about opportunities that are available here. So we're glad to have Ida and Ayden with us. So I am going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Through this conversation, as a little bit of a primer, Ayden has worked in Southwest Virginia and on this project in her role with SE Group, supporting the initiatives around the Cumberland Plateau Outdoor Economy Plan, as well as her work with Breaks Interstate Park. So she's no stranger to this region and is has a great viewpoint on this topic. Ayden, do you want to jump in and share a little bit more about yourself, and then also a little bit about the SE Group before we dive in?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Ida, and thank you, Sandy, for convening this group today. I'm Ayden Eickhoff with SE Group. I am based out of Colorado, but as Ida mentioned, I've had a couple wonderful weeks in Southwest Virginia. SE Group started in the late 1950s as a ski area design company. And we like to say in the convening years since then that we've worked our way down the mountain. So we've started with base area development and then started working in the communities that were affected or maybe influenced by the recreation destinations near them. So since then, we have gathered a team of about 50 environmental planners, landscape architects, community planners, and tourism and economic development professionals. And we got to meet Ida on the Cumberland Plateau Outdoor Economy Development Plan, which was done for Buchanan, Dickinson, Tazewell, and Russell counties. And then had another great opportunity to work with Ida on Breaks Interstate Park Strategic Plan. So yeah, we're excited to kind of discuss more about that as we get into it.
Exactly, and great setup. Ayden and I, as we were preparing for this conversation, really did use one of the guidebooks that's available on the Friends of Southwest Virginia website, of which we will link to shortly, to really shape this conversation and understand the nuances of what it means to be an entrepreneur in this market sector, especially in Virginia and Central Appalachia. So today we're really going to start high level, thinking about the impact that adventure tourism, the outdoor economy, outdoor recreation industry, all these kind of names that we'll use throughout our conversation today, to better understand how you, as a provider, an entrepreneur, a systems expert, a community leader, can really help to be part of the change in developing this ecosystem in your boots on the ground role. If you would like, I would love to kind of have a better understanding of who's here. If you'd like to take a minute to drop your name and where you're calling from in the chat, it'd be great to kind of have a better understanding of who is behind the camera here. As we dive into that, we'll start to kind of really chat about what that expanding network is and how to unlock that potential. I think in this industry, as I'm sure you've experienced in many areas, it's a very small world, and being able to understand the subject area experts in your backyard can really help you plug into providing and offering a really high quality of service or product in this sector. Thank you all. I see the chat's coming through. All right, so starting high level, and Ayden, feel free to jump in at any point here as we're walking through this. I really wanted to just give you a snapshot of the role that the outdoor economy plays on the national and Virginia scale. So outdoor recreation really is big business, especially in the US, really understanding all the different components that go into this area. The Bureau of the Bureau of Economic Analysis likes to really capture this concept with outdoor recreation, including traditional activities like hiking and camping, as well as more casual activities like gardening and outdoor festivals. So this isn't a broad umbrella. It really also captures that some of those travel numbers that so much of us in the tourism industry are familiar with and capture, but how it all culminates under this umbrella and really can become this powerhouse of development and recreation. The culminator of this data is Headwaters Economics, and they are a great resource in this sector to really help understand where the power is, where the trends are, and where it's heading. I'll also draw your attention to the graphic on the left-hand side here, and we'll continue to drill into this throughout our hour, but understanding the different roles that the outdoor economy plays in your industry, thinking about apparel, sports and events, RVing, rafting, water sports, motorcycling, equestrian, all those aspects, how they tie in. And then also how Virginia stacks up against the other industries and the other states that we're looking at. So these numbers are from 2022, again, prepared by BEA, but we have amazing natural assets and huge opportunities to continue to develop them, especially with the amount of national forest that we have in our region and the incredible climbing, hiking, mountain biking. We really are competitive. Looking at how we can continue to grow this industry and compete well, especially against our Central Appalachian neighbors, will be really exciting to see as we move forward. So as we dive into this, I'm really going to kind of slow down and start to think about the people who might be in the room today, and starting about the different levers that you have to pull in your community around outdoor adventure business development and ecosystem as a support organization, as a tourism organization, a chamber of commerce leader, or a future entrepreneur. And feel free to put on many different hats as we think through this conversation together. And this section specifically, I think is really important to acknowledge that this way of conceptualizing the niche element that is the outdoor industry really came through from the work that Ayden did on the guidebook. So as we're walking through here, Ayden, feel free to jump in with kind of examples or case studies or areas that you think are really doing this well in our region. So how are you an outdoor recreation friendly business, or how are you providing guidance for your communities in order to take on this role? What are ways that you can be an advocate for development, for connectivity of trails to communities. In the industry, we talk a lot about how we're connecting natural assets to the cash registers of downtown. But beyond that, even if it's a free trail or a free quote experience, your visitors that are coming into our communities are investing in a big way in their recreation. When you think about our motorized sport industry, all the different expenses that entails, and that adventure tourist community, and not only how they're investing with their time and their money in your communities, but that kind of thought capital experience that they might be able to contribute to in the future. Thinking about people who are visiting and seeing your locality, your community, the natural assets in which you promote and engage with as their future home or even a place of their future business. I was listening to a great conversation the other day with Tom, who's the CEO of Sylvan Sports down in Western North Carolina, and talking about one of the key perks that he has for bringing people and keeping people on as employees with the manufacturing side of his business is that he is literally, I think he said 3 steps away from a national forest trail. So, on lunch or on a break, you can walk outside of your office and hit the trails for a few hours and maybe a few minutes, depending on what your day is looking like. But having natural attractions and natural assets be a key driver for why people are coming and working and staying in our region is a key way of thinking outside the box. Ayden, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, one of the major destinations that we were considering in the Cumberland Plateau project was the Southern Gap Outdoor Adventure Site. And I think something that they have been doing really well is strengthening their connections with local businesses over in Grundy to provide food or catering for the events that they have. And so I think they were pretty intentional on, okay, we are located in this beautiful area, but we are also close to services. And so instead of providing more of an on-site restaurant, they made sure that they were continuing to build those relationships with caterers. I'm not sure if they have plans in the future to have more on-site restaurant and dining. But the other item that I think is really cool about their operation is that they are really flexible on their audience, where if you are an avid ATV off-roader, you can show up and have a great time. And if you are someone who is entering the sport and maybe needs a little bit more of a curated experience, they have the options for guiding and rentals as well. So I think that they do a great job at meeting multiple audiences and maintaining connections with their community. And they also have physical connections as well to other places. So not just, sharing and marketing and making sure that people are aware of the other things around them, but they actually have physical trail connections that connect them with other assets in the region.
Excellent. Thanks so much. So from here, we'll think specifically through the lens of our lodging providers and how you can elevate this overall experience of your visitor and attract a more nuanced visitor that might align with the assets, that recreation assets that you can experience directly outside of your hotel, Airbnb, lodge, yurt of any sort. In the guide, something that we were thinking through is if you're right next to a river, is there an opportunity to provide complimentary fishing equipment or maybe a bike wash station, access to coolers, binoculars, even sunscreen. Little things like this really kind of take you the extra mile in providing that robust experience that keep people coming back for more. So often we're thinking about how we turn a one-day visitor into a multi-day visitor and really exposing our guests to all the amazing amenities that we have and enticing them to dig a little deeper, look a little further, especially in the outdoor recreation sector. We have so much to offer and such a diverse array of activities. With that, of course, the normal pieces of laundry is such an amazing element to have in a stay, especially if you're out in the woods, menus or directions to restaurants. And this is an out of the box thinking one, but for especially around Damascus, thinking about opportunities to be amenable to resupply packages getting mailed ahead. There's two, maybe even more, jump in the chat if you think of more main corridors that we have folks who are traveling light through our region. And that, of course, is the Appalachian Trail and the cross-country cycle trail that goes through Haysai. If you're remembering it, put it in the chat. Nope, it's not coming to me. Sorry. I hope it's in the chat. Ayden, anything else you want to jump in there on kind of lodging providing or best case practices?
Yeah, I think you touched on a few good ones of having those curated itineraries for folks who might be staying in a new place and don't necessarily know what's around them. If you've ever been to Breaks Interstate Park, and if you haven't, you definitely should go. But that one is located in a remote area where when you are driving there, you're not passing a lot of other things that you immediately think of as like, oh, great, I'll go here tomorrow. So I think something that we tried to support that team with is really just elevating the awareness of what is around them and also what's on site. There are a couple of assets and amenities on site for breaks that people might not be aware of. So just making sure that people know that they can go rock climbing, that they can go canoeing, they can go zip lining, and there's all these, items to support them. And I think a really good example of thinking outside the box. As I said, I live in Colorado. There's a lot of sun here. I was recently at an Airbnb that had sunglasses for the whole family. So just some kind of cheap sunglasses, but they had kid sunglasses and adult sunglasses. And I just think that's such a great example of making sure that guests coming from outside the region who may not know how bright it is are safe and comfortable during their stay.
Excellent. Going above and beyond. Here's a great cross section of kind of some of the practical approach that we took to the workbook style experience for the business guides. Some of the pieces we covered today are also included here, but we hope you'll check this out following this conversation. All right, so from here, this is more of our interactive section. So if you're interested in participating in this way, feel free to get out a pen and pencil or open up a notepad. And we're going to start to drill in a little further and think about you as a entrepreneur, as a service provider for the industry, how you're thinking through what those next steps could be, and what are your tools and resources and processes behind innovation that we hope will take you to that next step and inspire you to take steps down this field. So as we think about that, why is such an important driver in how we live our lives, the way we spend our time, the passion and energy that we bring to an endeavor. And that goes double, I think, for how we spend our time in terms of a professional or business practice. If you can really contextualize and understand your driving forces, your factor, the experiences that have shaped your life, and how these experiences are inspiring your future business innovation. I think that taking the time to really tap into that can make all the difference in the world, especially during some of those more challenging moments. Ayden, as we're thinking about that, could you share with us a little bit about Tenter? I use this photo kind of as an interesting example of how a low barrier to entry to get involved in this outdoor recreation space.
Yeah. Just to also back up for a sec, I see we have a lot of tourism professionals on the call. So I think that this prompt about, what is your why could even be like, what are the types of things that you're really hoping people who come to your region learn or explore? What are the main components that you're hoping they take away from their visit and why they would come back? So to get to Tenter is, I would say, has been called like the Airbnb for tents or something like that, or for glamping, sorry. And they have a really interesting business model where they will provide kind of this kit that you're seeing in the picture. There's maybe some, the backpack's probably not included, but they will work with private landowners to have this, curated platform with the canvas tent and the bed platform and like little tables and lamps that really provide just sort of a bed in a box glamping situation. And I don't know what the exact cost sharing is, but I want to say it's something like 70% of the revenue stays with the landowner and 30% goes back to the tenter company. And I want to say the average across the industry, or sorry, across the bookings is a little over $100 a night. So there's definitely strong demand and interest and willingness to pay for this sort of like prefabricated glamping opportunity.
Thanks, Ayden. So as we're diving in, I think it's so important, and this is exactly what we're doing here today with the community that's been cultivated around new knowledge and so many other great resources and communities that we're familiar with in Southwest Virginia and beyond. But cultivating a trusted team is crucial to your entrepreneurial or business support service leadership experience. So how do you develop this iterative process that works well for you? Looking for opportunities to innovate and investigate ways that will lead you to a sustainable product or service and exceed that original vision. So I think in this process, it's really a crucial understanding of how do you embrace the mess and look for ways to tap into your resources, your community, your boots on the ground experience to be able to bring something even better than you even originally imagined to the table. I also want to kind of introduce, if you're not familiar already, but share this kind of concept that IDEO originally was credited with creating around how we can quickly work through the innovation process of testing, reflection, pivoting, breaking it again, seeing what those weak points are in your strategy, business plan, or services even that you're providing from a kind of tourism development perspective, and how that investigation of the overall viability of that product or service can kind of drum up new ideas, new solutions, really thinking through who it's made for, what the financial and time constrictions might be, and recognize that this way of kind of low risk effort of working through things is messy and nonlinear and uncomfortable, but ultimately it's going to bring you small pain points now rather than big pain points later, which again taps into this idea of the minimum viable product. So how your product or service really taps into how you're able to support the needs of your client of the future, and where that sweet spot is in developing the offering that you're bringing to the table. A lot of this kind of concept idea is coming from Eric Ries, who's the author of The Lean Startup. And I think that's it. Towards the end of our conversation here, I'll recommend a couple other kind of research and reporting ideas. But this concept of how you're engaging with that trusted group that you can share your ideas with, and how you're able to innovate and build both your skill set as an entrepreneur and also your understanding of the market that will allow you to hopefully find success and persevere. And of course, with all endeavors, there's no silver bullet. Being able to understand that there's no right answers, no guarantees, but there is opportunity to build community, build leadership, do the work, and move forward in your endeavor, and your vision is always there. So as we're kind of working through this, feel free to put questions or thoughts in the chat. I'm going to take a few minutes of your time now to start to get our ideas down on paper and what that might look like. And again, these are very text heavy slides over the next little while, but I wanted to make sure that we capture this information so that it's available to move forward. And the framing of this, I'd like to mention too, it's coming from my experience working with the AIR Institute and their Evolve program specifically, really driving into that mission statement piece. So, a few notes. A mission statement tells you what you do and why you do it effectively and efficiently. They are not taglines or brand messages, but should express your personality, culture, and values. So I'd challenge you to take just a few minutes. I'll pause and stop talking for about 3 minutes and just let you kind of brainstorm, get your initial ideas on paper. If you're a support agency, thinking about how you're offering services to maybe this market, or what that vision or mission, looks like from the standpoint, and then how you provide services to the industry that can move forward. So we're going to take about 2 minutes, 3 minutes here to just kind of spend a little time working. I want to give you this time now to just share what's on your mind down on paper. If you're comfortable and want to share it in the chat, feel free to do that as well.
I was just thinking in reviewing this list, these are, because one of my questions was going to be, if before you start moving forward, what are some of the top 5 things you need to do before you see, I mean, can I make money at this? Is there a need in who my client base is? And then you got to look in the resources. So you're kind of sharing that as what you need to do at the beginning.
Yeah, really taking that why statement and understanding that, especially I feel like in this industry, having a passion for the work that you're doing, having a personal experience and offering of what you're bringing to the market shapes that overall business experience. But being able to communicate that clearly, whether it be through a business plan or a mission and vision statement, or just in general conversation, and kind of spreading the word about what support looks like for you in this phase of development and creating this venture product or service is crucial.
And, in a way, the late bloomers that are just getting into the outdoor recreation business in Southwest Virginia, now we've got all kinds of studies that you're going to be hinting on and talking about, and resources that we didn't have 12 to 15 years ago when some of our newer folks were getting into this. So
exactly. And I found so many folks in this industry who maybe, have gotten a jump on it, are so excited to grow the industry. We've seen just there are opportunities in the market sector to grow, and we're definitely in that kind of cart and horse situation with our visitation, of we're seeing the impacts of visitors coming from many states and many countries, in the guidebooks or in the kind of login books that are outfitters, and yet we're still looking for kind of ways to break through that top of a known destination. And that's something that so many organizations in our region are working towards, is branding and marketing and communicating that Southwest Virginia, Central Appalachia is a really incredible destination, and how we partner with those organizations and agencies to tell that complete story, and then also have the offerings and the experiences for people when they get here to have that really high quality experience.
And 15 years ago, we didn't have the growth in Airbnb, which there's another group of folks that you should put in your research to contact to see what kind of folks come and rent from you and what do they like to do, because that's all going to be part of your concept for your business, and how do you determine your active market.
Exactly. Thanks so much, Sandy. So we're going to move forward a little bit and think about the vision statement. For this vision statement, I really invite you to bring your intention, your why, your who is it for, what you as an organization or entrepreneur believe, and how that shapes the reason for your endeavors in this work. And then maybe even think deeper and thinking about kind of how you move through the world and your opportunities to tap into human emotion with this vision and statement, and help people resonate with your ideas, your concepts, your vision, and grow that community. So we'll just give you about a minute and a half or so here to think through this. Awesome. We're going to keep it moving, but I'm going to encourage you to keep reflecting on some of the pieces that came up during these exercises, and how that shapes your next steps. So lastly, and we're just going to think through this, and I'm going to share with you some more resources. The Start With Why conversation that Simon Sinek has published multiple books and also was adapted from a TED Talk, I think is really powerful for helping to get those ideas down on paper and think about how the product and service that you're providing benefits your end user, why your customers or people who are utilizing your service would choose you and your venture over others, what makes it unique, what might be confusing or kind of have misinformation behind it that will need clarification. And then what does that end user value most about your venture? So as we continue to dive in, another kind of capture moment for the business guide, really thinking through kind of the market research element here and how that all comes together. Ayden, would you mind to kind of help us think through what's here, what the resources are, and what else you can find in the guidebook?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to throw the link to all of this in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you.
So you are available to download these resources and kind of see what other work has been done in coordination with the Friends of Southwest Virginia. So what you're seeing here is a screen grab of one spread in the Outdoor Business Guidebook. This information is adapted from the Small Business Administration and just kind of gives a high level, the process for starting, kind of getting into some of those nitty-gritty things. So it's not just about, okay, I have an idea, I want to make kayaks, like let's go do that. But making sure that you're starting with the market research and the business plan. And I think what Ida just went over with the why and the what, and what niche is this filling? Who is your audience? Is a big part of making a successful business plan and making one that will stand the test of time, even as you go through those iterations with your team and your product. So there's lots of information that kind of get more into this nitty-gritty, but I think it has some of that like softer touch stuff as well when it comes to how to be a trail friendly business and how to make sure that you are, as Sandy mentioned, going to your different information sources to get an understanding of what people are enjoying, what people are looking for, what the kind of ages are, who's coming here. Is it single men? Is it families? And how to kind of adapt your approach and product to the audience. This can also be the future audience. Who are you trying to attract that may not be coming here? And understanding why. Is it an information gap? Is it marketing that can be better targeted? But there's just a lot of resources. And as I just shared, I would say there's a lot less gatekeeping in this industry than in others, where people are just excited to share and they know that there are niches for everyone. So a lot to go around, but I would say with all of the resources that I just shared on the website, you can get a pretty comprehensive look at the market, the region, and the business support documents as well.
Thanks, Ayden. Perfect. Yeah, some of those interesting trends that we're seeing, especially as we compare and kind of do a strengths analysis on the recreational amenities that we do have in Southwest Virginia is, gosh, West Virginia has bigger white water. Kentucky, Red Rocks, it's not Red Rocks, Red River Gorge has more extreme climbing. Western North Carolina has steeper mountain bike trails, but we fall somewhere perfectly in the middle with some great class 2 streams, some family-friendly environments, some incredible cultural attractions, amazing music venues. Southwest Virginia really does have that outdoor recreation families, great mix of opportunities and ways to get engaged with the family that I think also ties really well into the overall economic impact. If you're visiting Southwest Virginia with your family, you probably are staying for longer and you're maybe even considering what it could look like to call this region home in the future. So I think kind of zooming in on that target market is really important. Another trend that we've seen is especially looking at the resorts community in West Virginia around the New River Gorge. Not all, but most of the owners in those regions are coming down from Ohio and coming in externally to open those businesses. In Western North Carolina, we're seeing the same thing. A lot of the gear builders, some of them are local, but a lot of them are coming in from the West Coast and choosing to build their industry in that region. So thinking about where those opportunities are and how we can empower and engage with our local populations to see some of these strengths and nuanced approaches to innovation early, so we can continue to foster that homegrown ecosystem in business development. Ayden, thanks so much for sharing the link in the chat. This planning process was funded by the Appalachian Regional Commission, Thompson Charitable, and was shepherded forward by the Friends team. So thanks. All right, so from here, we're going to dive into a little more of the data, a little bit more of that market research. What are the resources? What's available? Ayden, do you want to kick this one off for me?
Yep. So Ida alluded to this tool earlier, but the Bureau of Economic Analysis has what's called the Outdoor Recreation Satellite Account. And that gathers a lot of spending and industry information related to traditional activities, fishing, biking, hiking, and the travel and tourism related items. So what people are spending on lodging and transportation and fuel. So that is done nationally. Unfortunately, it does not go to a sub-state level. So the data that we're going to share here is all for Virginia broadly, but it's showing a 20% growth in this outdoor recreation industry from 2017 to 2022. 2017 is the year that this program started, or that this account started, and it does take them about a year to get data uploaded. So I would say probably in November is when we would see 2023 data. So mark your calendars. But a few of the specific recreation activity highlights that have seen the most growth in that time are here on the bottom left. So water activities, this is like sailing, boating, 84% growth in those few years. RVing, 79%, climbing, hiking, tent camping, 70%, motorcycling and ATV and bicycling both had big growth, but not as much as those first three. So I pulled out these activities because these are activities that can be done in Southwest Virginia and other areas in the region, and something that I think would be great to know that there is both a very active market around, but also a lot of growth. There weren't a lot that had low growth or negative growth, but just seeing like these are the big items to be considering, and how your business or marketing or product doesn't need to be, I'm going to go have an RV camp, but what could be related or nearby or proximate or supporting. So yeah, some interesting research here, and I will also throw the link in the chat to that as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Ayden. I think there really are exciting opportunities to drill in on some of those specific market sectors that do pertain to our regions, especially kind of as we look at the motorized sport industry, the RVing, and the amazing camping experiences that we have in and around Southwest Virginia. And then, of course, bicycling is continuing to expand and provide more connectivity options, especially as it pertains to the kind of cross county and even cross state connectivity of bicycling opportunities, both on the road as well as kind of secondary or gravel experiences. Thanks so much. So from here, everybody's first question is always, where can I get grant dollars for my business endeavor? Some of these provided are loans, grants, support services. I really just wanted to categorize this as the start. This is by no means everything that's available, but just the start of some innovative and creative ways of utilizing funding support services for this industry. And Stephanie reached out from People Incorporated. Thanks so much for contacting me about this new funding resource that is available for specifically the 9th District. So wanted to share this here with you all as well. But some of you may be on the call, but some of the support and the community, the ecosystem that we're building around entrepreneurship in Southwest Virginia, I think is something really special. And the more opportunities that we have to work across sectors and reach outside of our individual organizations to collaborate and provide this robust network of support, the better. I think that's what really helps Southwest Virginia stand apart in this growth phase, is the regionalism that pertains to this industry. If you think of it and you have a minute, feel free to drop all the other great resources or your favorite resource in the chat. I want to make sure that we're tapping into everything. This is just a snapshot. All right, so from here, I kind of did a deep dive of where to find inspiration. Where are some of, when you're in a rut or you're stuck or you're working with somebody and you're kind of like, I don't know where to send you next. Where can you build the community, build innovation, look outside the box, think on that national or international scale about the resources or products that you're offering, and really use the power of the interwebs to make that a reality. So I, here and over the next 2 slides or so, wanted to capture some of those key resources. Unreasonable Hospitality is a great read. It's on Audible too, if you like those, like to listen to an audiobook while you're walking or biking or something. The Business Adventure, it's a good read. Some of the ones that you might be familiar with from the conversation thus far, the Lean Startup, the tried and true piece. I also, a great resource that I've had the privilege of attending all 6 years, even virtually during 2020, is our neighbors in Western North Carolina have been putting on the Outdoor Economy Conference. The next one will be in October, the 21st through 24th. I think this is a great mashup of services, industry, gear gurus, trail develop agencies. It's really the full ecosystem is at the table, and the conversation is fantastic, and the presentations are top notch. So I recommend it if you get the chance to attend. If not, a lot of these past presentations are available on YouTube or different platforms, so check that out. I also wanted to share, as I mentioned earlier, that our neighboring national forests are so important to the conversation of the services that we offer. Jennifer Overbay with the Forest Service reached out to make sure that her contact information was available. If you're interested in developing an entrepreneur service or guide service, and you touch or are on national forest property of any way, it is important that you have the correct documentation and that you have the permitting. So whether it's temporary or long-term, this is an important part of how the Forest Service funds themselves and keeps those products and services open for us to use. And I think I remember reading that it was 75 or more participants over the course of the block of time that you needed a permit for. But reach out. I really love a good podcast. So if you do too, here are some great resources. I listened to a couple. One was Sherry Tingey, Tingey. She was on the Adventurepreneur podcast. She was one of the female leaders up with the guys who started Patagonia and North Face and all that. She was at the table during those early days. And now her son runs Cotopaxi, and she runs an amazing boat making company. So it's all sorts of inspiration from all walks of life, but really tapping into some of these as a way of expanding your horizons around what's available, what's out there, how people are thinking about the future of the industry, and make connections accordingly. All right, what's next? So from here, I'd invite you to stay action focused. So how can you take maybe some of the nuances that you picked up on today and continue to refine your mission, your vision, your venture statement, seek feedback, go out of your way to engage with mentors or resources in your group and outside of your group. Look for ways to look for shifts in how you're thinking about your resource, and then validation that might encourage you to continue on your way. As Sandy mentioned, that market research component is very important, but it's also an opportunity to continue to get inspiration about how you can bring something unique and different to the table. And then at the end, really leaning into that pitch process, how you're telling your story and you're telling your concept in a way that invites people to the table to be part of the big picture thinking and be part of your team. So from here, we'll open up for questions or thoughts. A big thank you to the Friends team, who really is a great leader in this work, Thompson Funding, ARC for funding, SE Group for allowing Ayden and I to dedicate our time to this conversation, Headwaters Economics, we pulled a lot of great data from them, and then of course the AIR Institute for kind of helping provide some of the guidance around leading the conversation about mission and vision. I've included mine and Ayden's contact information here below, so please feel free to reach out to us with questions, ideas, or next steps.
Thanks, Ida. Thanks, Ayden, so much. Does anybody have any questions? If you do, post those in the Q&A section. I sort of alluded to it earlier when people were taking that survey, but what would you consider the top 3 to 5 things that an entrepreneur should do? If I'm just thinking about this, I love to kayak, but how do I go about doing this? Is this something that I can make if I'm going to invest in my life savings, what should I do? So what do you think is the top 3 to 5 things that you should do before you even sit down putting numbers down?
I love the question. I think having the boots on the ground experiences in the industry, going kayaking with some of the existing outfitters that are providing services and thinking about how you can complement or expand on what they are offering so you can continue to diversify the market. And then really spending time from a financial standpoint and a itinerary development standpoint are what are the restrictions. I think that travel times in our region, especially depending on what river you are on, are really important. Building the relationships with the providers of river access points like DWR, Clinch River Valley Initiative, all those players at the table to understand where the missing pieces are, where the goals, where you might help move the needle on some of those goals that they also have, and then starting to take those steps into how can you ideate and innovate in the overall process. So where are those low cost, low barrier to entry ways to invite your friends out in the river, run a couple trips over the course of a month, and think about those low cost, low impact barriers to entry that would kind of help launch your vision. Ayden, do you want to jump in there as well?
Yeah, I would just add, and thank you, Ida, and thank you for the question, Sandy. I would just add talking to others who have gone through it, who have started, who are in it, talking to your local gear provider on what they're seeing, what people are asking them, like what Ida said, how can I get on the river? How do I get back? Who's gonna pick me up and take me out? So I think just starting those conversations with people who are interested in. And I think, yeah, there's certainly a good amount of risk, but there are lots of resources and grant programs and business support mechanisms, especially in this area, I would say, who are trying to reduce some of that risk.
And Ayden, I know that you addressed it in the chats about trends since COVID, but we have maybe a couple that's online or by phone. And I wanted them to know what you.
Yeah, perfect. Yep, I can recap. So there was a great question in the chat about that BEA outdoor satellite account trends, and related to how much of this growth is COVID related and might now be in decline from people moving on. Then an example that RVing skyrocketed during COVID and it's now going down. And my response to that is that absolutely we saw a COVID-related recreation spending bump for sure. And in some places, it is starting to level out. I would still say that there is a general upward trajectory, but we saw a big dip during 2020, a big increase and rebound in 2021 that really took people off guard. But the great thing is that, I bought a bike, I bought a paddleboard during COVID at peak prices. But now I still own those things and still want to get outside and use them. So I think there is a lot of ways where recreation providers and tourism professionals can make sure that there are amenities and more awareness about the amenities for people to go use those, use the gear that they purchased, but also just create, more outdoor recreationalists. Like that is how we will continue that growth, as if there's more trails close to home, more ways for people to get outside. You will see an uptick in participation.
Great. Thank you so much. And we're running low on time, but if anybody has any questions, you can see that Ayden and Ida have their contact email addresses there, and I'm sure that they'd be happy to take any questions you may have after today. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A, so that means we all learned a ton, and you've received several nice compliments in the chat. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you, Ida and Ayden. We couldn't do this without experts like yourself that donate your time and your expertise to share with other entrepreneurs that are looking at as we say on the farm, thumping tires to see if this is the way they want to go. And the reason we do this program is to make sure you do it the correct way, and you're prepared, because we want you to be successful. And that's why we connect you to resources like the SE group, and then these others that's on the screen. I also want to thank each one of you for joining us today, to take an hour out of your lunch and your busy schedule to participate, and I hope that you found the value in that. Just want to put in a plug for our next new knowledge session, which will be on April the 3rd. And as you start these businesses, marketing is going to be a vital part of that to get the word out. So on April the 3rd, Alex Fetch with Letterpress Communications will be back to continue the marketing series they are leading. And on the 4th, April the 3rd, they'll be talking about messaging and social media. And I'm sure everyone on this call would be right for them to participate, because there's so much that we do every day in getting the word out in that regard. So also wanted to put a plug to we will start planning soon our fall series of new knowledge sessions. So if there's something else that you want us to address and to include, let me know. You've definitely got my email address from all the Zoom reminders that you've been getting, but we want to hear from you, because we do this to support you. So if there's another aspect or other parts of what Ayden and Ida talked about that you want to go more in depth and learn, I'm sure they would be happy to help you and help us. So let us know what you'd like to for us to include in the fall. So we would probably have somewhere around 15 to 20 more workshops. So we want to hear from you. A reminder, today's session is being recorded for education and training purposes, and it will be available on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for New Knowledge, and you'll find there not only today's later today, but you'll probably find over 220 workshops that we've done since we started videoing these in 2015. And if you found value in today's workshop, please share the content and other information with others. Later today, you will receive the link for the YouTube video, as well as the slide deck that was shared today by the SE group. And again, thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you on April the 3rd at our next session. Thanks, Ayden. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Sandy. Have a good day.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.